Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video we are doing a Thanksgiving inspired holiday look. I was originally going to do a red lip, but with the gold and the olive on the lower lash, I think the nude ended up working out even better. A lot of this was a first impression, so there are things I love about what everything looks like today, and there are some things that I'm probably never going to use again. So if you want to see what worked and what didn't and go through a whole tutorial with me, make sure to keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe because I upload every other day. And that'll be the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to jump into a full tutorial, mostly affordable, and a ton of first impressions with me, stay tuned. Alright, starting off, actually most of the complexion today is going to be both affordable, and a lot of it is coming from Catrice. This is not sponsored, but they recently sent me a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to use most of it today. I'm going to start with the Prime and Fine Poreless Blur Primer Goodbye Pores Primer. What I like about this one already is that it's a little bit of a thinner consistency, so I feel like it's going to be a little less on the heavy side, and it's really just going to perfect the pores. Definitely has that heavy dimethicone finish, which, I'll be honest, I have not used in a while, but has always been the type of primer I enjoy. For foundation, I have two. I have the Catrice True Skin Hydrating Longwear Foundation in the shade 40, which looks a little too dark, and the Catrice HD Liquid Cover Matte Foundation in the shade 30, which looks a little too yellow. So I'm actually going to take both of those and mix them together. And I'm going to add a little bit of the LA Girl Pro Color Foundation Mixing Cool thing. And we're going to cool this up a little bit. Adding some blue will kind of give it that undertone that works a little better for my skin. So I'm going to just take one pump of this foundation, one dropper of the matte foundation. Yeah, it looks good, but they definitely look like it's going to be too yellow. So I'm going to take a little bit of this and add one pump of the blue. I don't know how much of the blue I'm going to need, but I am going to just take a little bit of that and mix it in. Adding blue will cool up the foundation, which will actually make it look a little bit more, yeah. That's actually even still a little yellow, so I'm going to add a tiny bit more of the blue. Now I did use quite a bit, so it is looking pretty heavy on the coverage, so I'm just going to shear it out a bit. So I'm going to let that dry down because I think it's a good match. I just think it's a tiny bit too light. But with any matte formula, they tend to oxidize a bit, which means they're going to get a little darker as they dry. So I'm going to go into concealer and let it dry down. This is going to be the shade 18 Light Biscuit, also from Catrice. And we're going to just conceal. I like the foundation cocktail. I think it looks good. I definitely think it still looks a little on the light side, but we'll make that up with the powder and it'll all end up coming together in the end. Before I powder, I'm going to take a little bit of the Illuminating Prime and Fine Dewy Glow Fixing Spray, and I'm going to add a little bit of this to the whole face before I go in with a cream bronzer and then some powder. So definitely a pretty aggressive mist, and I am looking very glowy from that, which I feel like with the name Dewy Glow, that's just kind of what it's going to be. Next, I'm going to grab the Tower 28 Bronzino in the shade Pacific Coast. And I'm going to use this as a cream bronzer, cream contour today. And I'm going to use this just to blend some of those edges so that this foundation situation that still looks a little too light will end up coming out together. And then to powder the whole face, I'm going to grab, this is the Pure Cosmetics 4-in-1 Mineral Makeup Broad Spectrum SPF 15 in the shade MN3. I'm going to grab that on a fluffy powder brush and just lock everything in. It's a little bit darker than the foundation combo, so I think it's going to actually bring everything together quite nicely. Definitely added a little more coverage than I would like over that cream bronzer. So I'm going to have to grab a regular bronzer, but I think it still turned out nice. I am going to jump into my Vesca bronzer, because I don't have a new bronzer to try out, and I feel like we need a little more dimension in the cheeks. So I'm just going to stamp this around the cheekbone, and then once I feel like everything's in place, small circular motions to blend. Lately, I've been doing this technique where I go in a little harsher on the bronzer, since I'm going to take my blush and blend that out with the blush anyway, and it just ends up looking a little bit much before the blush goes on, but after the blush, I think it really brings everything to life. Like, this is a little more bronzy than I normally would go, but it ends up looking beautiful once that blush is on. Just going to take a sponge and really press that in. I'm going to go prime my eyes and throw a brow on off camera, and I'll be right back and we can do some eyes, finish the cheeks, and really pull this holiday glam together. All right, while I was doing that, the foundation did warm up a little bit, so it is no longer quite as light as it was, and I think it looks better. Time for some blush. This is from the brand Palace Identity. They sent me a blush and a lip. The blush, let me tell you, the packaging is beautiful. It's this really pretty ancient Chinese-inspired line. And this is the blush right here. Tell me this is not, like, the most beautiful thing ever. Oh, that's beautiful. That has such a beautiful sheen to it. Oh, that is stunning. I think that's also a really pretty color. It's got some nice bronziness down here and a little bit of illumination up top. So if you swirl the brush right, you'll get a really pretty color. No scent to it, which is nice. And grabbing a powder brush just to diffuse the edges where the bronzer and the blush meet. I think that gives some really pretty glow to the skin. That's nice, but I think I want some actual highlight. Lately I've been skipping highlight and just doing really glowy blush. But I saw on TikTok the Anastasia Amrezy highlighter, which I have been obsessed with since it came out. Limited edition, amazing product. They found a dupe for it. This is the Revlon Skin Lights in the shade Daybreak Glimmer. And I swatched it. I have not put it on my face yet, but it apparently looks exactly the same on the face. On the hand, it definitely does. So I'm going to take that on a fluffy brush. I should probably get a mirror. That is absolutely an Amrezy dupe. So if you love the Amrezy highlighter and for one reason or another either don't have it or ran out of it or you want it but it's discontinued, I think this Revlon is a really good alternative. It is definitely strong. So if you do put it on, like I went a little heavy, always just grab your blush brush and blend your blush over the highlight. And that will soften it to give you more of that glow from within versus a stripe on the face. To kind of press it all in, I'm going to take a little more of that Prime and Set glowy spray. I'm going to mist it onto my beauty sponge and just press that over the cheek just to bring everything to life. I think the skin looks really, really perfected. And I'm loving these tones. I think it's going to help the eyeshadow really pop. All right, for eyeshadow, this is also from Catrice. It is the Instabay eyeshadow palette. Definitely a very pretty neutral palette. I want to go for something a little smoky today. And I want to do some brown and green. So I also have this eyeliner in the shade Olive from Beauty For Real. I have been a fan of the Beauty For Real liners for a while. You've heard me rave about them. But this is a new color. I recently used their color Peacock in a video as well. But I want to try out Olive, so I'm going to start by putting that in the waterline. Now that the green is down, I'm going to take this light brown right here on a pencil brush, and I'm going to blend around that. I don't normally start on the lower lash, but because I want to go a little on the smoky side today, I really want to start by mapping out the lower lash line, because it'll help me keep the top and bottom balanced. I am slightly winging it out, but I'm not going overboard with it because I do want to keep this a little bit smoky and I don't want that like dramatic winged look. I'm going to take the other side of that brush on the shade #Repost, which is a very neutral peachy color. And I'm going to take that just under what we just did and blending it up just to soften everything together. I like it because this is a little bit lighter than my concealer, so it's going to really re-brighten that under eye and make sure even though we're going a little on the smoky side, it doesn't look grungy. I want smoky, not grungy today. Now that we've got the general shape down, I'm going to go into that same brown And I'm going to take that in the outer corner of the eye and up into the crease. But I'm going to try my best not to mess too much with the outside. I'm really quite impressed with the pigment in this palette. For something that's drugstore and affordable, I'm getting some really nice pigment. It's not patchy at all, and it's blending out really nicely. Taking that same brush with no additional product, I'm just going to still blend out that lower lash a little more. And then once I get to the outer corner, I'm just going to softly buff up. This is going to soften that wing shape just to make it a little bit less, I don't know, intense, obvious, something like that. Now notice how the wing isn't super obvious and you can't really tell it's there, but it does lift the eye up a little more, so it gives you a little bit of that wing shape without actually having to do a wing. On that same brush, I'm going to go down here into the shade #Dupe, which is a very dark brown, and I'm going to take a very small amount of that, and I'm going to focus that close to the lash line and under the crease. Now that we've got that, I'm going to go back into the shade Glam up top, and I'm going to really build that out on the outer portion of the lid, blending that over what we just did, and taking that about halfway onto my lid. Dusting that off in my color switch, I'm going to use the same brush with that lighter shade, and I'm going to take that up at the brow bone, and I'm going to blend down just to soften the blend above the crease. Going into a much smaller brush on that dark brown, I'm going to re-intensify close to that lash line and in that outer corner of the eye. I know this is getting dark, but don't worry, it's not going to be too dark. I'm going to blend those edges out again with the clean brush. And I've been really into gold lately, so I'm going to take FOMO, the gold shade right here, and I'm going to grab that on a packer brush. Just going to make sure it is clean. Give that a little spray with the dewy mist, and take that all along the lid. I'm hoping it's pigmented enough to like pseudo cut the crease. That is really pretty. I'm going to do this on this eye, throw on mascara and a lash, and I'll be right back. All right, now that the eyes are done, I love the way the gold and the olive are really playing off of each other. And I have two lip options, a nude and a red, and I don't know which one I want to go with. We're going to play, and I'm going to kind of play around, and we'll see what we like. So first, also from Palace Identity, this is the Gilt Gold Dragon Velvet Lipstick. When I tell you the packaging from this brand is absolutely beautiful, it is a gorgeous brownie nude, which I think will look very pretty, but I don't know if it'll scream holiday. But it looks so nice that I really think I want to do the nude. The other option, this was like $4 at Ulta, so we're playing with affordable today, but this is the KKW Cream Lipstick in the color Cherry Pop. And first KKW product I have ever picked up. Looks like a really pretty bricky red. I feel like the red might go more Christmas than Thanksgiving, so I think I'm going to do the nude. And we'll save the red for a future video. I'm going to try it without a liner first, just to see if I need one. But since it has such a pointy tip, I don't think we will. So that is really beautiful. I think even though it says it's a velvet, it feels very matte. So I'm going to grab a lip liner. This is Wherever Walnut from Makeup Forever. You can line before you do your lipstick or after. If you do it before, you're doing it for definition. If you're doing it after, you're doing it for shape. So I'm going to just take this and clean up the edges. And because this is holiday and we're not doing glitter, I do want to add a tiny bit of gloss. So I'm going to take, I have so many glosses to choose from and I don't know which one I want to do. So for the items we tried today, I think I'm getting a lot more pores than I normally am. So I think the primer is going to be a pass. However, everything on top of it I think came out really good. I'm loving the Revlon highlighter. I think the Catrice spray gave this really beautiful glow from within. And just for like, because why not, I'm going to take a little bit more of that and just press it over the cheek one more time. because there seems to be so much of that beautiful illumination in here that it just kind of brings everything together in the most ethereal way. Like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like that just glow from within? The foundation cocktail, I think the blue helped to tone down some of the warmth of the foundation. I want to play around with the formula a little bit more because I think of the two, I like this formula more, but this one's not bad. I've used it in the past, but it was definitely a little drying. It was perfect for me back when I was in New York and my skin was more oily. Anyway, I am going to set the red lip aside that we can play with this in a future video because I'm really happy with how the nude looks. As always, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear what you think, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!